Welcome to the January 27th, 2016 meeting of the Historic District Commission of the City of Gaithersburg. I would like to begin this evening by taking the roll to demonstrate that we do have a quorum. Mr. Berger, could you start?
Sure. Chris Berger.
Phil Wessel.
Dean Ventola.
Mark Feinstein.
John Roddy.
I'm Frank Johnson, Assistant City Attorney.
And let me read a preliminary statement that this commission is empowered to meet and act under the Article 12 of the City Code of Gaithersburg. The technical qualifications of the staff of this commission and the members of the commission are on file with the City of Gaithersburg and are available on request to any applicant and are hereby made part of the legal record of each and every application heard today. Each application heard today is considered on its own merits and is not to be considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. We are joined by another member of the commission. I would ask her to identify herself.
Sally Wyke.
So we do have a quorum and we can conduct business. Before we begin, I would like to announce that the city planner has asked me to say that the city is initiating a program to give free snow to any resident of the city who wants it while supplies last. I would ask the office of the city attorney, do they have to demonstrate that they are residents for this?
No, not at all.
Not likely? And
We have another member.
I saw that one of the networks indicated that we had 33 and a half inches of snow here. It's a bit more than we're used to. However, we're all young and we can take it, right?
That's right.
We are joined by one more member of the commission. I would ask her to identify herself. That's you, kiddo.
Mary Jo LaFrance.
Thank you. This evening's agenda calls first for the election of officers. We are in a peculiar position this evening. The sitting chair and the person most likely to be nominated to resume as chair for the next season isn't here. You're stuck with me. I feel very uncomfortable making any obligation in his absence as to whether or not he's willing to accept the position. Even though he has done so in the last couple of years, and I think he is eager to continue. So if there's no great objection from any of the members of the commission, I'd like to put this off until he is here. I think that would be fair.
If there's no issues with the being put off till February, I have no issues with that.
Yeah, we would prefer that.
I mean, he's not a Canadian resident or anything like that.
Just his mother was born.
Yeah, the main important thing in the rules is that the issue be raised. If the commission defers it, then at the next meeting, then the issue would come up. There are some instances where for different things that happen, and sometimes it's snow related or whatever. Not that I want to predict any problem for February, or barely having a quorum or whatever, that it gets deferred for a couple of months. But the point is, it's raised at each of those months until that decision is finalized.
Okay.
Thank you, Frank. As usual, you're right on point and helpful in your advice. And I think I sense a consensus tonight that we don't mind putting it off for another month. And we'll raise it again.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
We will catch him, drag him back here, and get an answer.
Do we need to vote on that?
No, I don't think so.
If everybody agrees that it's a general consensus, the minutes can reflect that, and that's fine. That or a vote on a formal motion is fine.
At the risk of being nominated yourself, do you want to make an objection?
I don't see that as a risk, and I would pose an objection. I just wanted to make sure that we're doing it properly, and I thought a vote would be proper, just to be on the record.
If you wish, we can do
No,
that.
we don't have to. I mean, I'm fine with
No, as
it.
long as the record will reflect there was a consensus,
Yeah,
and
I think
everybody's
that-
been
I
very
think
clear
is-
about that.
It is
So.
defined as a consensus, so I don't think we have to vote.
Very well. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We have two meetings to consider. I believe those minutes have been distributed to the members, and we'll take up first the November 19th, 2015. Any further changes?
No, I didn't have any.
Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the November minutes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I don't hear any. Motion carries. December 16th, 2015 minutes. Any further motion?
I
Any
have
fur-
some notes, I have some
Yes,
thoughts,
please.
I should say. First is, I'm listed as an alternate in one of the line items in the same paragraph. It just says Commissioner, so if you could strike that. Second is, I'm not sure about one of the applicants' spelling, but his name is Jeff, I think, Fuller. I'm not sure if he has a single F in his name.
It is a
Okay,
single
all right, very good. And then third and last is the conditions for approval. I thought one of them was linked to the new rail cannot go, the new handrail cannot go and project into the front sidewalk. I know it was raised, and you did write that into the report, but I thought that was one of the conditions. So could you confirm that?
Yeah,
If
I'll
so,
review the video.
just include it. If it's not part of the condition, then we can't do it retroactively. Those are my only comments.
Do we have a motion?
Move we approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain? Two abstains?
I wasn't present.
2 abstentions. Motion carries. Number 4, we have an application, HIST 7212-2015.
The subject property is a ranch-style house that was built circa 1950 at 105 Mean Avenue. It is non-contributing to the Chestnut Mean Historic District. The project includes 3 work items. Removal of 1 tree, and the tree in question is this tree at the northeast corner of the property. Retroactive approval of replaced windows, which are on the north, east, and west elevations. And retroactive approval of 1 tree, which you can see is mostly cut down at the northwest corner of the property. In accordance with Section 24-227A of the City Code, a historic area work permit is required for work on a designated historic resource before changing the exterior or the environmental setting. Section 24-227(2)B of the City Code also applies, which states the following. In the case of an application for work on a historic resource, the Commission shall be lenient in its judgment on plans for structures of little historical or design significance, or for plans involving new construction, unless such plans would seriously impair the historic or architectural significance of surrounding historic resources. The 2 trees, which are saucer magnolias, are located in the front yard, as I mentioned. The applicant began to cut down the 2 magnolias without tree removal permits. The city was informed and told him to stop and receive the required permits before proceeding. The applicant, who is also the property owner, came to City Hall on December 21st to apply for 2 tree removal permits. I spoke with him and told him that he first required a historic area work permit before the permits could be issued. He did not say why he wanted to remove the trees at that time. And here's a different view of the house and the 2 trees. And here's the tree that was mostly cut down. And here's the tree that is, they started cutting down, but it's still mostly standing. The applicant also told me that he had scheduled the installation of vinyl windows in the next couple of days before he moved into the house. I told him replacement of the existing windows also required a historic area work permit, and he said the existing windows did not work properly, and he could not wait until tonight's HDC meeting to replace them. I informed them that he may be required by the HDC to remove the replacement windows. With my assistance, I helped him draft a letter stating his intentions. And these are the windows as they looked before. He thought that they were aluminum windows, and I understand how he can think that because it looks like either the screen windows or storm windows on the exterior were aluminum, but the windows actually appear to be wood, or they did appear to be wood. They've since been replaced. Here's another view. He provided these photos. And here's the windows that they were replaced with, vinyl windows. And here's representative example of one of the windows, the replacement windows. The Chestnut Mean Historic District guidelines for landscape and windows note the following. Here's what they say about the landscape regarding trees. I'll let you read that. And here's what they say in regard to windows and storm windows. Now, there is recent precedence for the HDC to approve vinyl windows in the historic districts. Not too long ago, the HDC approved 2 of the 4 vinyl windows at 31 Walker Avenue, which were replaced without a historic area work permit. That building is contributing to the Brooks, Russell, and Walker Historic District. Next door at 29 Walker, a non-contributing building, the HDC approved the replacement of wood windows with vinyl in July 2014 with HIST 5511-2014. And the applicant, Mr. Gerardo Becerra Cardoza, is here if you have any questions. If you would please come to the podium.
Well, first of all, I want to say
Sir, could you give us your name and address to begin, please?
my name.
Yes.
I'm Gerardo Becerra.
And the address, please?
This 105 Amin Avenue.
Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I just would like to say I'm sorry about this happens because I don't even know. I'm new on that. And actually, I'm not there when this happens. I got somebody, a friend, helped me out to clean the house because the house is completely mess. I don't know how long somebody didn't live in there. And then still doing some kind of work because, I mean, the house is old house. They got very damage everywhere. They're leaking water everywhere. And then, like I tell to Chris, I really need to change these windows because I have family, a little kids, to have to get in because otherwise I don't have no place to live. So, what can I say? You know, all I can say is I'm sorry. I don't even know what's going on with that, but I'm sure I don't want to cut the trees. Just want to cut the little things going into the top of the house, you know. But this guy probably they don't understand me, and they're breaking down like 2 parts in one. But the trees are still there. Everything is still there the same. They don't look the same before, but I mean, we can, you know.
Sorry.
Well, before we go to preliminary comments and questions from the commission, I forgot to ask if anyone has a conflict or wants to make a disclosure this evening?
Nope.
Okay.
I live around the corner from it, but it's not on my street.
So you don't feel strongly
But
one
it's
way or
in
the
the
other?
same, historic district.
It wouldn't affect your
No.
decision here at all. Phil, you had a question.
Yeah, my question was if you weren't intending to cut down the trees, just trim them, why do you have a permit to remove the second tree? Why are you asking to take out the second tree?
Because like I tell to Chris, when I'm by the house, I mean this, like I told you, that's mess everywhere. Probably they don't take the leaves out in the last 4 or 5 years. It's like this much. The trees gone into the house. The house started leaking from the ceiling. And then I put it down, all these kind of errors. And then I tell my friend, can you help me out because I had to go to work today. And actually I'm working every day. I'm starting to work 10 to 10. And just getting my job when the Chris or the other guy called me, what happens, and then he's coming over to see the house, and the guy is breaking the more bigger, I don't know how to call him,
Yeah.
the tree, you know.
But do you still want to take down the second tree?
Actually, I'm thinking about that because, I mean, the only thing I want in that tree is just to cut the things going
The branches.
inside
prune it over.
the house. I don't want to cut the trees. Like I talked to Chris, the one is still there, but I mean, they don't look so nice like that. I can tell you that, but that's not my point to cut. Just trying to, to trim it around. Because, I mean, it's mess everywhere. I can even see the house in that time. That's why, but I don't want to cut the trees. But like I say, I apologize. I'm sorry about the happens. The other one, it's still there. Probably they can stay alive, but I mean, they don't look so nice to me. What I think is to take it off to put another one. So that's my, you guys have to take a decision and let me know what I need to do. Then I can say this. I'm sorry. I'm new on that kind of business. I live in Gettysburg, but I never got a house before. And then I buy the house, and that time, the bad time, winter time, and I can go in to live because the air is coming up from everywhere. The winds is already broken. There's I don't know how you call it when this is starting to get in like mushy, and then that's why I come to tell Chris what's going on, because I can pay two rents. I can pay my house. I can pay another rent to stay a couple of months in the other place. Because it's hard to me. Because I got a family. I just making money enough to pay one rent or for two rents, But like I say, I can go in to live like that because I got probably myself, yes, but I got a family. I got little kids. That's what I tell please, can you help me out? I can change these windows so I can get in. Because otherwise, what I need to live,
Commissioner Wessel, do you have any other comments or questions?
My
Preliminary.
sort of preliminary comments is that aside from not being thrilled about having to review something retroactively, the windows, given that it is a non-contributing resource and the style and appearance of the house, the time period from which it was built, the vinyl windows on this particular house don't bother me from a historic standpoint as much as they would on some of the other older, more contributing resources. So I don't have an objection to the windows. I would suggest that as far as the trees go, the tree on the right that's been significantly trimmed is probably needs to come out the rest of the way. And I would suggest my opinion would be to approve the tree removal permit on that, given that it's too far gone really to save, I think. The tree on the left, I would recommend denying the permit for that tree and advising the applicant to prune it and trim it properly, but it's still looks to be a viable and pretty nice looking tree. That's the extent of my...
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Dean?
I don't have any questions for the applicant. Do we discuss at this point in time our thoughts?
Any preliminary comments you wish? Yeah, by all means.
One question I do have is for you, Chris. Did you? I saw in the document that you relayed to the applicant that he needed to come before the board with the windows. Did you suggest at that time that they should be replaced with wood windows?
I didn't make any recommendation at that time. I thought that they were aluminum.
Okay.
Because based on the information that he told me. So I thought that they were non-original windows, so my mentality was that that would be more appropriate than if they were the original windows.
You mentioned earlier tonight, and I may have misunderstood, that there was a house next door to this house that had windows that were changed to vinyl?
No, I was referring to 31 Walker and then the house.
You were referring to the
yes,
house next to
29 Walker.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I have a couple thoughts remaining. One is, I agree with Phil that the tree on the right-hand part of the photo is chopped up enough where that right now looks like an eyesore. It's not helping the community. So I would agree to have that removed, or I would vote to have it removed and ground it down to grade. The one on the left, I didn't see any information in the document giving reason why this tree on the left should be removed. I don't find magnolias to be anything other than very pretty trees when they're in bloom, and this looks like a healthy tree, and at the photos that I've seen, it does not appear that it's harming the house whatsoever. But if it does get trimmed, I recommend that he be required to have an arborist, a professional arborist, trim it based on the idea that it did not occur with the professional arborist on the first tree, so I don't want the same thing to happen to the second tree. It may be a burden for him on the price, but we can't, I don't believe we can afford to allow somebody to go and chop up this tree again, or the second tree, to do the same thing that they did with the first. And then the last thing that I have is the Windows system. I'm not terribly happy with going from wood to vinyl. But my bigger point here, my bigger concern is when I look at the photo that's up on the screen, the windows that were there, if I'm not mistaken, in the front elevation, perhaps on the others, were 2/2s with the horizontal muntin in each of the sashes. And when I look to the neighboring house on the right, that's what they had. So it was a style back then, and I imagine that there were other houses in the neighborhood built on the same. So my big concern is all of a sudden this house now looks like it's very different than the neighboring house, even though it should be looking the same. So I wonder if we should have a requirement to add in that missing muntin. I don't know how it would be done at this point in time, but it would be something that I think we should think about. If you guys are of the same mindset, let's talk about it. But if you guys think, well, it's not that big of a deal, then I'll be happy to drop it. Those are my only comments.
Commissioner Feinstein.
I have no specific questions, but a couple comments. First, with regards to the mutton and the missing horizontal mutton that you're talking about, Dean, I'm torn a little bit in the sense that, one, I think it would look more congruent with the neighborhood if it were to have that. However, it's a non-contributing house to the historic district, so therefore, whether or not it pushes you to the point of requiring it, I'm not sure. If procedurally we had done this correctly, and if you had come to us prior to the installation of the replacement windows, we probably would have wanted that mutton to be in place. Probably would have been more lenient on the vinyl windows, or at least I would be. I would have been more lenient on the vinyl windows as it being a non-contributing house. But I think from a look standpoint, I would have wanted to have that horizontal mutton. So then we're in a position now where I understand why you put the windows in when you did it. I'm sympathetic towards that. Yeah, you were in a rock and a hard place. You had nowhere to go, and you wanted to move into the house, and you wanted to have new windows. However, you put us in a tough position also.
Yeah.
Because while what we do, and we state typically that every case is looked at individually, and there's no precedence for what we do, even in Chris's preamble towards your historic area work permit, he even mentioned precedence as one of the reasons why we've done this before. So we may state all the time that no, we're not setting any precedence, but yet it is somewhat of a precedence. So that's my only concern.
Okay. Mr. Frost.
Well, I agree with what my previous commissioners have stated, but I'm also extremely concerned because there are other law-abiding citizens that follow the rules, come before us. You understood what the rules were, and in spite of that, you did what you wanted to do in the timing you wished to do it. That takes a lot of quality control out of a board like us who represents the city and tries to also represent the neighborhood as well and protect the resources. So as what was said, if you had come before us this time instead to ask for our approval, we would have asked you to choose a style that was similar to what was already there. And now the choices and the quality control have been taken away from us, and you're asking us to say, well, it's in, so say okay. But what about all the other neighbors and the other people who have come before us in the proper timing and follow the rules? It doesn't seem very fair to them.
I understand that part. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I don't even know what's going to happen because I'm new and, But like I say, what can I do now? I have to go back. I'm still have all the windows in here. You can guys coming over to see the windows we have. You know, because there's no way to. Some ones they don't even open or close. So.
So in your opinion, it was an
that's-
emergency?
You know, that's exactly. But the windows are still there. I got all the windows I taken from there and the glasses. I still have it.
Oh.
So, but
Chris,
some
did you
windows
know
is
that?
No, I didn't
completed,
know you still had it.
completed, broken, bad. Some hood looks like mushy. The missing parts. That's why I'm still keeping it there, just in case if you guys want to come in to see it.
Thank you.
Because it's,
Chris, I was going to ask, I was a little disappointed there weren't any before pictures. I'm pretty sure the house that was up for sale, that there were before pictures with
Well, we
their,
had-
their,
there were some
the real
before.
estate website. I didn't see them.
We had some.
Well, I
provided.
saw that one, but I
Right.
mean, of both the magnolias and the front of the house, I'm sure the real estate agency website would have had
Right.
a picture of the front of the house with both trees. Yeah. And at this point, that's all I have.
Ms. White.
I think everything has been stated, so I have no other comments.
Okay, thank you. I'll go last, of course. Mr. Pastera Cardoza, we decided as a community to uphold certain standards for our historic areas in which you are situated, as far as preserving the assets that are there. And your house is an asset. It's a non-contributing asset, but it's an asset.
mhm.
And there's a certain look to the community that we want to preserve. And you may have gotten the gist of these comments.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But we are concerned about any retroactive approval. It does tell people in the future that perhaps we sit up here and speak a very, speak stickly and carry a big soft, is one way of putting it. We don't do much about it, but we are very, concerned about what happens in the future. Not you personally, but just what some other people may look to this instance and say, he got away with it, why not me? You are a non-contributing resource in this community, in this historic area, not you personally, the house. But, and that argues in favor of allowing you to do it. But I do wish to express our feelings on this, and I think you may have gotten that from almost everyone, if not everyone up here. We don't wish this to be used as a precedent in the future, and we'll have to deal with every one application as it comes in, one case at a time. I don't have anything further I wish to say. Does anyone want to make a motion or any other further questions? There's no one in the audience, I should note for the record, other than a city employee, and I doubt he has anything that he wishes to offer on this. So,
Are we going to discuss a little bit?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to say between us that, the house is
Could you
60.
speak a little louder
Oh,
to make sure you...
I'm sorry. The house is 62 years old, and although it's considered not contributing, as we know, we've been studying modernism, and this is another phase of our community over there. So I wanted to make that clear. And then I also wanted to say that I am supportive of keeping the magnolia tree that was not completely pruned to death on the left side of the photo. I would be supportive of a motion that would include saving that tree. And as far as the windows are concerned, Chris, I guess I would like to see some kind of consequence that's reasonable. What does the city do in these situations? Can we impose a fine? What is it that we can say so other people don't think it's better to not ask for permission, but apologize?
Ask for forgiveness.
Forgiveness, thank you.
I'm going to defer
You
to
wanna
our
turn it to
assistant
me?
city attorney.
Well,
Yes, Frank.
In terms of enforcement, certainly there is a requirement, to get a city permit first. Part of that here, because it's in a historic district, certainly could issue, a fine would come from issuing what's known as a municipal citation. Generally, that is more effective when you have somebody not complying at all, in other words, not coming in and not communicating and not trying to come to some resolution. So I'm not sure that. The other thing is, in terms of enforcing historic district issues and violations, you'd end up carrying that to the city manager to decide how to proceed, and very well might decide, yes, that is a violation and we'll proceed with it. If that were to happen in the background, that still doesn't change your decision tonight one way or another. That would be an additional issue that that could happen. So you could decide to recommend that to the city manager to be considered for any further action. But I would say, in terms of effectiveness, it's hard to tell, even if we issued a citation. Generally, with building code requirements, the folks enforcing that are practically going to want the end result that you have here. If it's something that needs to go to planning or come here, that would be the goal. That's what they're looking to achieve. So to some extent, you do have that. Now, the other question that was kind of implied is, in terms of the flexibility, what does that mean? Well, flexibility doesn't necessarily mean everything's okay. It can mean that, for instance, saying, well, no, it can't be vinyl, it has to be all wood, it has to be all original, there can't be any change at all. That's where you get into the question of, okay, there's not the flexibility there. The code does call for something that's considered a non-contributing resource for some flexibility, but again, that's not a matter of necessarily saying nothing's in place, but kind of the question you're asking, or at one point I thought was, and I thought Mr. Feinstein as well, how practically can this be addressed to satisfy, if the Historic District Commission does consider, well, the 2/2 is an important issue, how is that potentially addressed in a way rather than requiring somebody to completely replace the windows, which I gather is the main concern. That may be a discussion that you could have. I'm not saying there is a solution to that, but that's kind of the weighing. Flexibility doesn't mean there's no standards, but it can mean, not to use the word flexibility, but some consideration as to how to enforce that and how far to go. Again, it's not a 1900 or a 1910 house, and that's the consideration. So, hope that helps.
Thank you.
And any other follow-up, certainly.
Well, in this case, the owner of the property was properly informed of how things work. So that's why I feel strongly about some kind of a consequence versus the removal of all the windows and putting in wood, which would be a huge expense. My thinking is a fine would at least be a consequence, and it may deter someone else from coming forward with a similar application. That's my point. So we'll have to decide how we want to do that, if anything.
But I find that, if the application would have come before us for a vinyl window, I think the concern would have been the muttons rather than the
material,
like them being replaced at all, or just refurbished. I think that it's more of an aesthetic issue rather than the timing doesn't necessarily change the outcome, and that's where I am more lenient, more flexible, or more open to the idea of, this was the timing because of what he explained of his family and the need for workable windows, or to me is reasonable enough, because I believe that should he had known what he had to do and come before before us, we would have likely considered a vinyl replacement. I'm not saying we would have approved it, but we would probably consider it. The muttons is where I think we would have changed our opinion. But
One further reply to your comments. In terms of a fine, if I understand the city attorney, we're not empowered ourselves to levy any such thing. The best we could do would be refer it to another body, perhaps with a recommendation thereof, but
So, just let me clarify real quick what Sally was saying. So, would you like to pursue the changing in the buttons at this point, or no?
No. What I was responding was to the idea of providing a fine. In my mind, the fact that it was an emergency situation justifies the fact that it was replaced. Now, should it have been a person like other cases we have studied, we have reviewed that it's just knowingly or not knowingly went ahead and did something because of a price benefit or any given situation. Perhaps I would have had a different opinion, but that's aside from what we're called to do. I think imposing a fine, in my mind, would not be as it wouldn't really accomplish much, because I believe that we would have likely approved the vinyl window should this have come before us in the proper timing before it was done.
I think there's three options here. One, the first one to retroactively approve what he's done. The second one would be the more drastic, which is to make him replace it. And the third thing is to understand if there's a compromise, if there's a solution out there that would provide the look of the horizontal mullion on each of the on each of the sections of the window that would be similar to the neighboring window and maybe more in the neighborhood. I know with a lot of vinyl windows, they will either have a snap-in or some sort of kit that'll go into it. I've always seen it with grids. I've never seen it with this sort of button arrangement, so I'm not sure if it could work.
I have one that's a single.
Okay.
You do? Yeah.
So I'm guessing if they sell that, you could probably do something similar here, so the windows can remain, and just add that extra horizontal to each of the panes.
But how do we impose something we don't know for certain that it's possible? Like, do we task the staff to do the research and enforce it if it's possible?
Well, if it's economically feasible.
Economically feasible meaning if there's a snap-in option. I mean, if there's not a snap-in option, then what do we do?
Well, addressing your thought, John, is I think that the economic feasibility would be, the test would be, compare it to wood windows. So whatever the wood window would have cost to replace it in kind is the price that we would have perhaps requested. And so that's the test, and anything less than that is feasible. So a muntin would not be very expensive at all if it is available.
Well, as I say, I have such a beast, and it didn't cost a great deal,
exactly.
but that was many years ago.
Right.
You were able to put a horizontal replacement in there.
No, not horizontal; they're vertical in my house.
Okay.
But to address Sally's comment, if it is not available with this manufacturer, then is it possible to even be done? So
That I don't know.
that's what's on the table. And so, what if we require it, and then we task staff to see if it could be done? Because I wouldn't want to put this off another month. I don't think it's necessary. And if the staff comes back next month and says it's not feasible, it's just not available, then maybe we just...
Well, why don't we craft a condition tonight that staff look into it, and if it's not feasible, it's not feasible, and then
if it's not available...
that's the end of it.
Right, yeah.
Do that.
And then you might have the time to look up the original windows that were on the front?
Well, the photos he provided show.
Or just the side of the house, right?
That was the front.
Oh,
That's the front there.
The
okay.
shutters.
You can see the magnolia
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
I see
reflection.
it now. Yep.
And the flagpoles.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask before, can I ask one
Sure,
question?
absolutely.
When you purchased your house, did anyone, your realtor, anyone selling a house explain that you were moving into a historic district? Did you know
No.
that when you bought the house?
No. No, the real estate just want to sell the house. And can I say something?
Certainly.
Like I said before, I don't want to be in trouble. I'm ready to say apologize, I'm sorry. But just a question. Do you think if the windows are still good in the house, that you think I want to spend in $6,000-7,000 for it? No, I don't have any of the money. I was keeping the windows, but that's not a way to get in with these windows. The windows are still there. Probably that's not a way to get into the backyard, what I'm keeping. But all the stuff is still there. That's what I'm keeping in there.
No, I don't think we're questioning
Because
whether-
I don't want to spend in $6,000-8,000 for these windows when the other ones are still good. Definitely not, because I don't have any money in my package to throw away my money. But it's not a way to do any kind of to get into the house.
We're not questioning,
No, but
The functionality-
just getting in my mind, you guys probably thinking I'm trying to be smart to the neighborhood, but I'm not. The problem is probably the property. Nobody live in the house probably for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe. I don't know.
No, it hasn't been that long. It probably.
Because the
more than a
leaves on the
year.
ground is like this much when I'm starting to clean the house. And then it's still one part in there. It's
Oh.
probably.
No.
I don't think, we all believe that the windows needed to be replaced. We're not questioning that at all.
yeah,
Because
We
the other-
we believe you that the windows
Because
were
the other
falling
guys,
apart.
like I said,
Although, wouldn't part of procedure be that a city inspector go out and look at them, or maybe Chris would look at them? This is part of, again, we're missing all of this because it wasn't done in the proper sequence. That's my point.
I understand your point. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I don't even know. I know that's historic, but I don't even know. I need to do all that kind of,
no, actually, we were
Because
looking,
I'm living very close to here. I'm living for the last 6 years in what's the name of that company? Londonderry Apartments. I was before in Rodville for the last 15 years, and then I moved over here for the last 6 years. Now I'm starting to looking for the house because there's no way to go to find a rent.
Yeah.
It's almost pretty much the same, the rent to buy a house. And my wife didn't go far from here in this area because I got my little kids going to the school right here. And that's why I'm buying that house like that. Because it's another house is cheaper. Oh, not cheaper, but because it's not house cheaper around here anymore. But I mean, they like the house, that's why I buy the house. But like I say again, I don't even know where's the laws of, the roots to follow in this area.
yeah, I should know that, my husband and I, for the last year, we were looking for houses in the historic district to fix up. And our realtor forwarded that one, and that house does need a lot of work, especially in the inside.
Yeah.
So I saw the inside pictures, and
And
I understand where you're coming from.
And this house, well, if one of you guys came in one day to the house, check on the back, dig up a deck. The deck, as soon as you walk on the top of the deck, start to rock it. What I'm supposed to do with it?
Well, you may come back before us, and we'll talk about that beforehand.
All right, but how do we wish to proceed tonight? Do we want to, want to make a motion at this point? or
If
you-
nothing else, I think we should address it as three separate ones. I mean, there's three separate items. I would think we would want to vote on them separately.
That doesn't bother me. We can do that.
Well, I suggest that we approve the removal of the tree that's already, the retroactive tree removal.
With the
even though it's
conditions.
still there.
Okay, can I ask a point of procedure, Frank? This is presented as one HIST application. Is it appropriate to deal with it as three separate motions when it's one application?
You can deal with it as three separate motions depending, or you can combine them either way. It's still referencing the same application. It's, there may be three, if it's one motion, it would be, we grant this, we deny this, we defer this, or three separate ones. That's more a matter of clarity. Sometimes there are two separate ones, and it really does need to be separate ones where you don't have the option of combining. This one would be a matter more of your own clarity. They should be linked in saying this is the first one for this application. If you separate them, this is the second one for this application, and that should be sufficient to clarify.
Okay, so
But if that tree comes down, don't we want it replaced?
we want the following three conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conditions.
The first one,
Right, well, I'm not sure we want all
Well,
three.
is this part of a formal motion by someone?
Some motion,
That's a good
is that it, or
question.
were you just trying to?
No, I was just making a suggestion if somebody feels strongly about
I
making
think
a
we should call
formal
three
motion.
conditions.
All three?
Yeah, I can't make the motion as chair. If somebody wants to make the motion.
Okay, I'll frame the motion.
Yeah.
I move that we approve HIST 7212-2015, the portion of it relating to the removal of the magnolia tree that's already been,
The
the
retroactive.
retroactive removal of the magnolia tree, with the following three conditions. First condition being the applicant shall provide staff with a report from the licensed arborist that recommends the removal of the tree. Or I guess that condition's not really,
Well, that's why I was questioning
The
it.
other one.
because it's the other two conditions that are more appropriate.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're speaking to the tree that has already been removed.
The tree that's already been removed, so if you're facing the
Yes.
house on the right.
Very
Isn't
good.
that northwest?
That would be the tree to the northwest, correct?
Okay.
So the following two conditions. First condition, the stumps of the tree removed by the applicant as part of the project shall be ground down to grade. And the second condition is the tree removed as part of this project shall be replaced by the applicant elsewhere on the property within 1 year of tree removal with a species that is on the Chestnut Meme Historic District Guidelines suggested plant list with the caliper size that matches the requirement. I think it's an inch and a half, or was it a 2-inch caliper that it needed to be?
Chest height or something.
Yeah.
2-inch to replace that 10-inch.
So,
That's pretty sad.
But I think that's what it
Right.
said.
2.5
I can-
inches.
We have to follow what.
Two and a half inch
All
caliper
right,
tree.
pretty
that
simple.
is the motion, is that correct?
That's the motion for the tree.
All right, do I have a second for this portion of the motion?
Second.
Please, you can have.
All in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed? Hearing none, I'd say that portion passes.
Okay, secondly, for the tree on the south side of the house, I move that we deny the motion to remove the tree.
Or the
and-
application.
Or the application.
Can I correct you? The tree to the northeast.
The northeast, okay.
Mhm.
Thanks. And should the tree be pruned, it be pruned by
License.
a licensed arborist.
Would you consider the possibility that a licensed arborist recommend removal of the tree if it's been damaged or unsafe under? Remember, you've had a very serious snowstorm since
Mhm.
this was inspected.
Sure, that's fine. I don't,
My feeling is if it's been damaged and the arborist finds it's damaged, then the procedure should be like it is for anyone else, and he can come back and apply
Yeah,
for another
that's
3
right.
I agree with that.
permit.
I agree too.
All right.
Because it is a familiar sight in the neighborhood, the magnolias are. Yeah.
okay.
Kindly ignore my interjection. Do we have a
Okay,
second for that
so-
portion?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, I say that portion passes as well.
All right, third, I move that we approve the retroactive replacement of the windows with the following condition. That a snap-in or other type of horizontal muntin, M-U-N-T-I-N.
Sorry.
It's pronunciation. Be installed in some fashion to each of the panes per window.
If economically feasible.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
And can we clarify which elevations? It would be the north, east,
Well,
and west.
any window that's been replaced that had
Well,
it.
he replaced the windows on the south elevation, but that's not relevant because it is not visible from the public right-of-way.
And he also replaced
I
basement
disagree
windows.
with
They're
that.
slide windows, right? So they wouldn't do that.
It's not within our purview to go after windows on the south elevation.
Well,
So the rear yard, you're saying?
Mhm.
if they were there, and I think if they were there and they're being replaced, I think that that's something we're allowed to touch. We're allowed to discuss and vote on. I don't see any reason, we're not talking a lot of money. If you can get these things put in, you're not talking lots of money at all. And I would think that any window that had them should still have them. But I'm not a big stickler on it. The front elevation is really critical. I also think the side elevations, you clearly see them. So I can give up on the rear if you guys.
Okay. Yeah, the front and the two side elevations are definite. The rear can stay as installed. But and should, I don't know if this should be part of the motion or not, but should a horizontal replacement muntin not be found, staff needs to report back to us in next month's meeting.
Just want to make sure. Do you understand what muntins are and what we're requiring?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, I'd say that portion passes as well.
Okay, that's it.
Chris, could you make sure that he understands what we have done?
Yeah,
each and every-
I'll give you a call tomorrow, and perhaps we can pick a day that I can come out to the property, and we can go through each of the conditions in person.
Okay.
And I
Oh.
can provide you.
Problem is, you had to let me know before.
Yeah, I'll
because
give you a
I
call
don't
and
pass
we'll
in the
reach.
house.
Right.
Because I'm get out from my house like around 9:30. I'm not come back like 10, 11. I don't have any time. The only day we got off, that's today.
Okay, so we'll choose a Wednesday.
But if you let me know on time, I can make in time to come in over to see you.
We'll arrange something. We'll figure out something that
Okay.
works for you.
Right.
I'm happy to translate all the different motions if you like me to.
If you don't mind.
Lo primero que discutimos fue la primera moción fue el árbol que se le cortaron las partes. Aprobamos que se puede remover completamente. Tiene que ser reemplazado con un árbol dentro de un año en la propiedad de 2,5 pulgadas y que tiene que ser una de las especies que están aprobadas en el Design Guidelines de la comunidad. La segunda fue el árbol que está al otro lado, la magnolia, que se quede así, y si usted quiere quitarle algunas ramas, tiene que hacerlo con la supervisión de un arborista, una persona cualificada que le pueda decir qué ramas puede cortar y qué no puede cortar. La tercera fue las ventanas. Tiene que añadirle el detalle horizontal que tenían las ventanas de madera que usted reemplazó en la parte de arriba y en la parte de abajo. El staff va a trabajar, va a contactar la compañía que usted está utilizando, a quien le compró las ventanas, para ver si eso es posible. Si no es posible, pues ellos van a reportar hacia nosotros y decirnos que no era posible. Pero si es posible, usted va a tener que comprar ese detalle y ponérselo a las ventanas.
Ok. ¿A todas o nomás las del frente? Creo que están.
Ah,
Porque
las
son-
de al frente y las del lado, no las de
porque
atrás.
Si no me equivoco, las del frente, las ventanas están, las que quitaron están ahí, por eso las tengo ahí.
Ah.
Las que estaban enfrente habían igual que estas, para arriba.
Oh, sí, no es de la forma que abren,
Ah.
es que habían 4 paneles.
¿O cuál poner?
Ahora mismo usted tiene tiene un cuadrado sobre un cuadrado.
Ajá.
La ventana que usted reemplazó se dividía en 4. Tenía un detalle horizontal en la parte de arriba y un detalle horizontal en la parte de abajo.
Ok.
¿Sabe a lo que me
Sí, que
refiero?
Era como en cruz.
No
No.
tenía una cruz, solamente tenía un detalle hacia el lado.
Ok.
Can you put the picture up of the previous and just point to the horizontal muntin for him?
Yeah.
Can we turn
Where can he
the-
see him? 'Cause-
Can you see it up on the screen, the arrow?
Oh,
The hand?
it's a three lines.
Exacto, ese detalle, el staff va a contactar a la compañía de sus ventanas y ver
Ok.
si es posible añadirle eso a sus ventanas. Y usted entonces va a tener que incurrir en el gasto de añadir ese detalle.
Ok.
Si no es posible, entonces usted no tiene la responsabilidad, pero ese es el requerimiento que estamos imponiendo.
Ok, y ustedes me van a decir qué clase de árbol voy a tener que poner ahí.
Sí, hay una lista en el código de la comunidad histórica que le dice cuáles son los árboles que deben plantarse en el área, en el Chestnut Beam
Ok.
Historic District.
Ok.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner
Thank
White.
you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Thank you, sir, for coming in.
Thank you.
No, thank you to you guys to understand me. Please, I'll see you soon. Thank you for your help. All right?
All
You give me a call, I can give
I
you a
will.
call, and let me know when you want to come in over. I can clear from my job
Okay,
for a couple of hours coming to see you.
Sounds
Just give me a call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Next on our agenda is the staff updates. Anything?
yeah, we have 3 items. A reminder to those interested in the Annapolis Sea Level Rise Lectures. It's this Saturday. I know Vice Chair Roddy and Commissioner LaFrance have expressed an interest in going. I checked with the CLG coordinator for the Maryland Historical Trust, and it will satisfy the annual training requirement for Preservation Board commissioners. The discussion is at 9 a.m., and it's a design charrette format for addressing impacts of climate change. And the public lecture is at 4 p.m., and it's John Englander, and he's going to speak on sea level rise in historic communities. So if you would like, I can send the email again. I think there's still time to sign up. Number 2,
Before you leave that,
Sure.
are you also going?
I will not be able to make it.
Okay.
I
Uh,
did, excuse me, I just want to say I sent in my RSVP and I haven't heard anything
Oh, really?
back yet.
Okay.
So I'm a little concerned about that.
I could email them and CC you and see
Okay.
if they respond.
The same for me. I
Okay.
haven't heard.
Okay, I can do that for both of you. It does not appear that we'll have any applications to review for a February meeting. So in lieu of that, we were hoping to have a joint meeting between the HDC and the Planning Commission to discuss the Preservation Master Plan. This will be a staff-led discussion on the outline of the master plan, in particular objectives and action items. Of course, there'll be a memo, and we'll guide you to the existing document and the proposed outline document. But our meeting for February is scheduled on February 24th. So we're hoping that we can just use that time to hold this joint meeting. I don't think it would be here. I think it'd be upstairs in the gallery. So, of course, you'll get email updates as we get closer, if we can get enough members from both boards at the same place at the same time. And finally, congratulations to Commissioner White,
Thank you.
who had her 3rd daughter at the beginning of December.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
All righty. And commission updates, anyone?
I've got one sort of comment question that tonight's application raised, but it's one that I think has come up before. And it's the issue of people buying homes in the historic district who have no clue whatsoever that they're purchasing a house in the historic area. And I'm asking this because when I bought our house in the historic district 2 years ago, if I hadn't taken the time to go and research and pull zoning and pull all this information on the house, I would have had no idea, because it wasn't listed on the listing, it wasn't told to us by the realtor, it wasn't told to us by the sellers. I did my due diligence and came in fully aware of what I was getting myself into, but I feel like there's been a number, in addition to tonight's applicant, I believe there's been a number of people who sort of found themselves in the situation. So my question is, from a city policy standpoint, from a procedure standpoint, is there any opportunity anywhere to require purchaser of a house, either individually designated or within the historic district, to, sign a HDC or a historic area disclosure acknowledgement that they've been made aware? Is that even doable from a city level?
Yes.
Yeah, before you answer, can I just say the way things used to be? It used to be that we had the Gaithersburg Gazette, and a lot of times they would run articles in the Gaithersburg Gazette about what you'd need a permit for, and if it's not listed there, then it would be an automatic $25 or something. And also, the city used to provide welcome packets to neighbors when they moved into the historic districts. Those have ceased, and I have brought this up before.
But the issue is that
difficult.
those things happen after someone's purchased a house.
True.
The issue is, how do you...
You're right.
At closing, can you
I
sign
fully
something?
believe that the
Yeah.
gentleman who was here tonight had no idea when he purchased the house
I agree with
that it was subject to any review for historic.
He may not even understand city codes for that matter,
But
because
it's not just,
he never
it's
had
not
asked
just,
before.
it's not just a language issue. It's,
Right.
there are people who
No,
come in,
no.
there are people who come in
Right.
and complain that the noise of the train, because they didn't know the train was 2 blocks from their house. So this is one where it would go a long way to eliminating that excuse.
He made it really clear that he was the first-time homeowner, so there's probably a lot he doesn't know yet.
No, but I think
Brother Mattson, you have a concerned look on your face.
Chairman, Martin Mattson, the Planning Division Chief. I would just maybe offer what we may be able to do, and I think what might be the simplest way to get the conversation started is to have a letter come off of your signature from the commission to the realty community. We can assemble. We have those addresses. We can assemble that mailing list, and just requesting that we start a conversation about how that notification may be done. I know in other communities, the right way to do it is to have that document included in the closing documents, along with the
I
map.
don't feel bad about
And-
obligating Chris in his absence to taking care of it.
So there is that requirement for zoning and for other things. Unfortunately, those requirements are usually put in by state statute and those types of things, and we can look and see what may already be required for historic district notification. I think that's something that we're going to have to ask them how best to do that. It may be something that needs to be provided by us, a simple map, a simple paragraph, and maybe a link to where they can find the requirements for those districts within the city, and then voluntarily it gets put in those closing documents. But we need to engage the realty community to get that conversation started. And if we can find, in the meantime, if we can find anything that we can hang our hats on as far as doing a little bit more than just asking for their cooperation, we'll definitely look into see if those are there. I know from having worked with Park and Planning and some of those others, there are those requirements. I don't know that the city of Gaithersburg has that ability to require that in the closing documents. We can look into that, though.
And I have a hard time saying, having localized disclosure requirements would be a nightmare from an enforcement and from a documentation.
I'm not so sure about that.
no, because
Look at Kentlands.
if there's a deed or when I purchased my house in Kentlands,
Yeah.
I I couldn't close on my house unless I had signed that I
Yes.
had
The
read the
code,
documents
yeah.
of the HOA.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Absolutely.
I think that we definitely can provide something that can give that information, be included in the closing documents, and we can ask the realtors to help us with that. I think where we're going to need to do a little bit more looking is there a mechanism where we can say it's required or this is just a voluntary? But we'll start on our end, because I think your point is very well taken, and it's something that in order for this whole process to be really effective, people need to know what they're getting into. So, but I think in any case, I think a letter to the realty community, kind of an open letter from the commission, would be a good start and a fairly nice thing
Yes,
to
I
just do.
agree,
So.
and thank you. I think that's an excellent suggestion, and it would start the conversation that's necessary.
Well, I would suggest that the first thing they're going to come back with is, how do we find that out? Is it something that's easily determined? For instance, the zoning, generally you can look up a property and find out how it's zoned. If that also includes then a designation of that, hey, this is also a historic district.
We have fairly detailed maps. And,
Yeah,
and
that-
we can
as long
we
as
can
they can
provide
find it
that to
out,
them, and
there
any,
should be-
any,
I'm with
any
you.
realtor should be able to look at the map and say this house is in this district. So.
Okay.
yes
as
and no,
long as
because
we can-
I think in spite of the recent efforts of the Montgomery County Planning Commission to revamp their whole GIS mapping system, I think there's a lot of, I looked at a house in a historic district in Rockville, and nowhere in the zoning did it say historic.
And hold you.
Granted,
Right.
I mean, we're our own autonomous jurisdiction, but that still doesn't show on GIS right now.
Yeah. I think additionally, I think the hard thing becomes is getting that notification to state whether it's a contributing structure or not, and all of that type of thing. I think what we would be looking for as a good first step is the house you're purchasing, maybe in a historic district and would have additional, legal requirements for, remodeling and those types of things, and just some general information that could be included, and give them, the opportunity to then come ask questions of us as far as, the specific address and the specific house. So we'll do some thinking between the three of us and try to maybe come back to you guys with a plan for how we can go forward.
I think perhaps looking at other jurisdictions, perhaps Annapolis or
It's a good
just
idea.
I mean,
I can't think of. I think Annapolis seems to me like the one that would be the best to just think
Frederick,
of what
maybe?
Frederick,
Yeah.
what they have done, because it definitely has to be acknowledged somehow.
I just never really considered it until now, but when we sign the hundreds of papers, when we close on a house, who determines what goes into all these closing docs? Like, is it the attorney who puts it together at the closing, or
There's state
No.
and
there's-
local
yeah?
requirements.
So,
The-
why can't the local requirement just be?
There's federal,
can.
state,
There can be.
city,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's their legal obligation, the requirement to put it together properly, otherwise they're open.
I mean, if we can recommend if it's not a statute right now with the city, why can't we recommend that the city adopt it?
Yeah, and I
We
don't think
can-
it's that hard, because all the statute has to say is that it's required to disclose that fact.
yeah,
Let
and-
it-
just-
And I think these recommendations, as far as making new city requirements, that would be a perfect thing to come out of the master plan and to be a recommendation of the master plan, and then that puts us on that track to go in front of council. In the meantime, let us kind of look into what steps we may be able to do right now. It may be that there's already some federal legislation or something that we can grab onto and kind of use as a tool.
Absolutely.
so.
I think, you already enforce easements, and people have to be aware of those when they purchase their home. I think a historic easement. is
Forest
not-
conservation or something
Yeah.
like that is what you mean.
Or
yeah.
a deed or something
Well,
pending
they
on their.
create the plat. That's one question that you may be able to answer is, anytime a sale goes on, a plat has to be part of the sale. Is that a new document?
The plat would not designate whether it was in a historic district or
No,
not.
I'm saying, why couldn't it?
We would have to then go and require a new plat for all of
It's
these,
not
and
always
it's not
No.
feasible,
So
or
you're saying you can
there's really
reuse
no
old
trigger
plats?
mechanism to require that.
Okay, so you reuse old plats for
Yeah.
a new sale?
Yeah,
Okay.
if they have, I mean, the only time we would require a new plat is if the property has been
Doesn't have it.
redivided or in some way substantially
Okay.
changed, so.
Yeah, I think whatever we can do to prevent situations like this happening is something we should pursue, because there's nothing worse than having this discussion and you're so sympathetic towards the applicant, who really, I mean, I believe him, I don't think he had any idea what he was getting into, and it's just not a good situation.
Yeah, we agree. Let us come back to you with some recommendations for notification.
All right, that's good. Before we address adjournment, I do want to thank the members of the city staff for their very good advice and their help this evening, and every time that they do come to our meetings. I know you have other things you'd like to do, and certainly it was not easy to get here tonight. I do thank you for your time and attention, as always. Do we have anything else to discuss before we adjourn?
I think so.
Do I hear a motion?
I move.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
No opposed? Gone.